The festive fixtures are coming thick and fast for this Stoke City side, and with that being said, we come up against 5th place at Preston North End on Boxing Day. It's 2 home games on the bounce where we need to get back to winning ways if we want to be in that playoff picture. So with that being said, Stoke simply need to put the ball in the back of the net. They need to test the opposition keeper a lot more than what they've been doing in these games. So with that being said, who will Mark Robins look to change from that Watford side that, fingers crossed, can get us to 3 points? So then, talking all about our starting 11, that is going to face Preston. Now, we've got the next 3 games where it's big. We're against the informed sides. I think all 3 sides that we're playing coming up in over this festive period are teams that I think are in the top 5 for the last 5 games in terms of form, in terms of winning games and having every right to be in the playoff picture. So these are the games that are going to dictate where Stoke end up at the end of the season. So with that being said, how many changes will Mark Robins make from that Watford game? Now, it's so easy to say, yes, make the changes and it's going to make the difference. Which of course could be one that freshens up the side and gives us that little bit of a different output, a different dynamic to our team. And especially with Junior Shamadou going, we're going to look like a different dynamic without him at right back. So in terms of this starting 11, I'm going to start with, of course, Victor Johansson in goal. I think the difficult thing with him is that he's making these good saves, these solid saves that's keeping us in games. He did it against Vipotnik in the Swansea game when he had a little bit of a 1-to-1, whatever he was offside is a different question, but he kept us out, and of course we win that game 2-1. And I think these games have been all about narrow margins or fine margins, shall I say. And I think you look at it, it's 1-0s, it's 2-1s, and unfortunately Stoke have been on the wrong side. And I think apart from that Sheffield United game, the last 6 or something like this, it's been 1-goal games, and I think it's been one where you look at it, Stoke have just not been on the right side. And when you look at the league table as well, Stoke have, I think they've drawn 3 games all season. That's the difference maker. You win, you change them 3 losses to 3 draws. That's 3 points that you've got from holding on or finding that little bit of creativity or a little bit of magic that can obviously change a game and get us a point, especially away from home. So I think it is one where Victor Johansson is doing the right thing. He's keeping the saves. He's looking to play out quickly and get us going and to really test the opposition. But if we can't do it at the other end of the pitch, then it's a very difficult one. So with that being said, back 4-wise, Stoke still have got the least goals conceded in this league, so have one of the top defences. So it's very easy to say, yes, we are conceding, and Victor Johansson hasn't managed to keep clean sheets. But is that down to him, or is that down to the team as a whole? I think it is the team as a whole. So I think you look at it, I'm going to go for Aaron Cresswell at left back. I'm not too sure if Eric Bocat is back in the picture for this one, but I'm going to presume he's not, and possibly he features on the bench if he does. So Cresswell starts in this one. An experienced head. We know what he brings to the table. Of course, this Preston side are going to play in a 3-5-2. Obviously, he's not going to deal with a winger, but he'll know when to go and when to join Sorba Thomas in the attack, but also when he can stay back, and it could be one with whoever's at right back then gives Cresswell a little bit more freedom over on that left-hand side to provide the width with the likes of Sorba Thomas, and as well get crosses into the box and really test this Preston defence. In terms of your 2 centre-halves, I'm going to go for Ben Wilmot and Ashley Phillips. Now, I've seen people say about Boston Llewellyn dropping into centre-half, and that is one way it'd be interesting, because we started the season with Boston Llewellyn and alongside Ben Wilmot. Now, nothing against Ashley Phillips. I really like Ashley Phillips. Really solid player, really solid young lad that's got a real bright future. And I think Stoke signing him in the summer was a great move. But he obviously is going to be a bit of a different defender than what Boston Llewellyn is, and on the ball. And in this modern game where you're playing up from the back, I think them kind of decisions sometimes can be what dictates how Stoke play, in terms of what kind of pass. Are they going to play a nice simple pass to the centre half, to the other centre half, or the full back, or one of the defensive midfielders, or are they going to go for one that's straight to the feet of the striker that then gets us playing through the lines and breaking up teams? So I think that's one of them where you then look at the question of, could Boston Llewellyn come back in at centre half? That's a possibility, but I like the partnership of Wilmot and Phillips, and I think it's one where with Phillips' height, we need to use that a little bit more from set pieces that we've seen other teams do in this league. So obviously Ben Wilmot and Ashley Phillips. Then I'm going to go for Maxime Talavierov. Now, I've seen a lot of people say about Llewellyn at right back as well. That could be a possibility, and I think over these festive period, I think with the games coming thick and fast. You've got Sheffield United, on the 29th. Then you've got, of course, New Year's Day against Hull. I think it's one where Lowell could come in for one of them, and I think I could see him playing against Sheffield United instead, and then I'd see Talavierov start again this time against Preston. So I think it is one where he had a bit of a difficult game against Watford. I think the where they had their joy was on our right hand side, and I think it's difficult because I think it was a game of fine margins, and I don't think you can put it down to Talavierov. But the thing is, that's not his natural role. He's not going to provide the same dynamic that Junior Shamadou does. However, what he can provide is, if Cresswell wants that freedom of going up and joining the attack on the left-hand side, we can then drop to a back three with Ben Wilmot, Ashley Phillips and Talavierov as a bit of a back three that then is like for what we're going to see with this Preston side. So I'm going to go for Talavierov at right back. Midfield-wise, another interesting position. For me, as a whole, in terms of the dynamic of the midfield and the attacking and the options that Mark Robins has got, for me, I think you look at a couple of the January summer signings that we've got. When they've been given the opportunity, have they taken it? And for me, I don't think they have. Now, that could be for a number of reasons, that they're still settling in, they're still understanding tactically what Mark Robins wants off them. So then I think you look at it and it's difficult to at this point say, they should start because they're going to make a difference. But for me, I'm going to go for Ben Pearson and I'm going to go for Tatsuki Seko. Now, I like Boston Lowell and I like Nzonzi as well. I think that they've had games under Mark Robins this season where they've looked solid, they've looked very decent. But I think when Seko and Pearson came on, yes, it was when Watford got the goal, but they provided us with, you know what you're going to get with Ben Pearson and you know what you're going to get with Tatsuki Seko. And I think Tatsuki Seko has allowed that freedom with Ben Pearson alongside him. And I think that I don't like calling it basics, but the things that you should just be doing naturally, Ben Pearson does it, but does it really well. And I think getting on the ball and just looking to turn and just smarten up our play and give us a little bit of temper, because at the end of the day, that midfield dictates the play. And I think in this game as well, it's obviously a different opposition, an opposition that have got a very solid midfield. And I think it is one where, when they came on that Watford game, they just give us a little bit of a tempo. Tatsuki Seko wanted to play in between the lines and join the defence and the attack. And I think it could be one of them where he's given the joy. It's just whether he can do that in this game, because I think we might look at the width in terms of with Preston not playing a 4-3-3 or 4-2-3-1 or whatever it is, where you've got a fullback and a winger, where we can use the width. But I think the thing is, Stoke need to find different ways of playing through teams that maybe are in a low block or a mid block, where we struggle to break them down. And I think Stoke need to find different ways of doing that. That's not just getting the ball to Manouf and Sorba Thomas or Shamadou getting up there. They then need to use the midfield, and that's where you look at creativity and looking at how we have missed Lewis Baker in quite a big sense in a way. So it'll be interesting to see when he comes back. But in this one, I am going to go for Ben Pearson and Tatsuki Seko. This is where I'm then moving on to your attack. And I think this is where it's one where Mark Robins, if the players aren't on their day, it's very difficult to take them off, because you know they can produce moments of magic. But the issue that we had last season was when Manouf wasn't providing or wasn't able to get involved in games for whatever reason, for whether that was individual battles, whether it just wasn't his day, it was difficult to then see where we were going to get it, where we were going to get any creativity or threat. And I think at the start of the season, we were seeing it from Sorba Thomas and both Millie and Manouf, and it was a lovely partnership. But I think what we've, in terms of having both widths or wings to provide the quality and break down teams. So I think what we've seen now is, if teams have now been able to control Manouf and Sorba Thomas, and I think it's obviously a difficult one when, if we aren't able to use our width, where else have we got the creativity to break down teams? And I think it's a very difficult one, but I really like Sorba Thomas and I really like Millie Manouf. They're absolute shining lights, always looking to create something. But if they're seeing out the game or not able to work the magic, Mark Robins has then got to look at who's playing in the number 10, or then got to look at who he can bring off the bench. And for me, you haven't then got the options, and I think that's one of the issues that could be looked at in January, in terms of, if Stoke want to be in this playoff picture, they've got to find different ways of winning games, whether that be from Sorba Thomas getting balls into the box, or Manouf producing the quality or link-up play with the striker or the number 10 getting on the ball. So for me, I think you obviously every day of the week are going to start Jun Ho in the 10, Summer Thomas on the left, William Manouf on the right. So I think that three that are behind the striker or alongside the striker are obviously quality, superb players. However, you look at it in these last few games, just not been able to produce what they would have liked. Now, I like Bae Jun Ho. I like he can get in the pockets. He can get the ball in the half turn and look to find the space. But I think you then look at it and say we have been missing more. I think you want more from him because you know there's more from him. So I think it's going to be a difficult game for him. These are a tough side to break down. A side that are well coached. They're going to know what their role is, and it's not one where like the Watford game where they're playing in a 4-4-2 where, fingers crossed, we could have created overload. We didn't really manage to do that in the midfield, but using the width and link-up play could be where we had that joy, because you look at when we play teams that have played a three at the back, Charlton, Bristol City as well. You look at it, and that's where I think Bristol City did. I might be wrong on the Bristol City shout, but you look at where we had our joy and on the width and in the link-up play. So with that being said, fingers crossed, we can get back to looking the threat, and I think that is the issue, that final third we've not been able to make the right decisions and not been able to really test the keeper. That's obviously one where they're not the best defence in the league, so why aren't we testing them? And I think you look at it and say, just get a shot off, whether that be outside of the box, and that's the bit where I think we really missed Lewis Baker, whether that be in possession or out of possession, getting shots off. You look at his goals that he scored outside of the box, just testing the keeper, do it. And I think at home as well, we need to have a really good start just to really see, right, you know what, that's our reaction. I think that's what Mark Robins will be wanting. Then starting in the attack, in terms of up front, who'd you go for? It's a big question for Mark Robins, and I think it's one where you've got three options. You've got Divine Mabama, Robert Bosnig, or Sam Gallagher. Now, I think I've seen a lot of people talk about it, saying, well, it's very tough to say, oh, change the striker, that's going to make the difference. And for me, I'm going to say that Sam Gallagher should start. Now, maybe as one way you're going, oof, he's been injured a lot. Like, he very rarely starts. He hasn't started this season for us, but obviously last season, in terms of the latter stages of the season, he did then start to start the games. But I think you look at it, and it's a tough one, because it is a lot of like you're feeding off scraps, but can you have the ability to link up with the number 10 or with your wingers? Robert Bosnig does that, but wasn't able to do that in the Watford game, and we haven't seen too much of it, but we know what he brings to the table. But for me, I think obviously him coming off in the at half-time in the Watford game, could see him maybe start against Sheffield United, and that's a better game for him to start. So I think it's then between Mabama and Gallagher. Now, I think it could be Mabama in the sense of if Bosnig is out, Mabama runs in behind, maybe trying to get on the ball, or even that he plays in the number 10 role behind Sam Gallagher. But for me, I'm looking at this one. Stoke need to find different ways of winning games. Set pieces is definitely one Stoke need to look at and focus on. And that could be an outlet for where we find our goals, because you look at it, I think Stoke are third in terms of number of corners that they've had in games. You look at how Sheffield United do it. McGuinness I think he won every single corner in the game that we lost 4-0 up. We've got our height in there. We've got Sam Gallagher. We've got Ashley Phillips. We've got our height all over the pitch. Talavera as well, if he plays right back. If we can get the crosses into the box, if we can try to look for an outlet from Sam Gallagher with his height, and yes, his goal was offside in the Watford game, but it's that kind of thing. Just get the crosses into the box. Let's try and test this opposition, and I feel like that's what we've not been able to do. So that's my thinking behind Sam Gallagher starting in this one. So with that being said, that's the team I'm going for. Let me know what you guys would go for. It's a big game on Boxing Day, and fingers crossed we can get back to winning ways. So with that being said, hope you guys enjoyed. Like, subscribe, and until then, I'll see you guys next time.